On behalf of the Port of Antwerp and its port community, it's my honor and pleasure to welcome you today virtually. With exactly 78 days to go to December 31, the day which marks the end of the transition period and the actual departure of the United Kingdom from the European Union. Many uncertainties about their future relationship remain, let alone which impact it undoubtedly will have on people, businesses and communities at both sides of the Channel. If you're shipping goods to and from the UK or Ireland to the European continent, the word Brexit might have raised a few concerns the past few years and months. Will the required custom regulations cause delays at the border? How will that affect your perishable and FMCG cargo? Will your supply chain be as reliable as it is today? Well, you're not the only one to wonder. Supply chain managers in the UK were questioned about their plans for Brexit, whether their approach was stockpiling, switching suppliers, or rebooting their supply chains completely. 31% said they were looking at alternative routes and ports or another transportation to avoid getting caught in queues at ports. As always, our customers remain our number one priority. Brexit doesn't change that. On the contrary, it makes us work even harder to ensure we simplify shipping procedures wherever possible. Ever since the British Brexit referendum in 2016, Port of Antwerp's Brexit Task Force has worked tirelessly with all stakeholders, including Belgian Customs, the Belgian Food Safety Agency, and major port community and business representatives, to mitigate any negative consequences for the port and your supply chain flows. To make sure things keep running smoothly, also you need to take action. Why not stack the odds in your favor by looking at different transport solutions? Let Brexit be an opportunity and your motivator to re-evaluate your supply chain. What if there was an alternative to accompanied transport for the shipment of your goods? Wouldn't that be a real game changer? Well, the good news is that there is an alternative. My colleagues are more than happy to explain the options to you during this webinar. I now invite Wim Dillon, President of the Brexit Task Force, to take it over. Wim will be your moderator today. And remember, post-Brexit, we will continue to reach out to our good friends and trading partners in the UK. Wim, over to you.
Also from my part, I wish everybody a warm welcome to this Ready for Brexit seminar. Or should I say, Ready for a New Relationship webinar. After all, Brexit is already a fact since February this year, and we are now nearing the end of the transition period. Today we are pleased to see that there's a large global audience, a very international one with over 300 registrations from countries like UK, Ireland, Germany, France, China, Brazil, and many countries more. First, I would like to start with a few practical guidelines. The session will last about an hour. You will have the opportunity to ask questions by using the question box. That's the second tab on your right-hand side on your screen. We will try to cluster and answer the questions as much as possible live, but those questions left undealt with will be answered later when we send you a link to this recorded webinar together with the answers of the questions. As said, my name is Wim Dillon and I will be your moderator today. Speakers will be Justin Atkin, our international representative for UK and Ireland. He's calling in from Hull. Tineke van de Voorde, Key Account Manager, Shippers and Forwarders at the Port of Antwerp, and Katrien Scheers, Chairwoman of the Antwerp-based shipping line Fast Lines. The agenda today gives a short update on the Port of Antwerp by myself. Justin will then go into the specific relationship of UK and Ireland with the Port of Antwerp and what challenges the Brexit will bring. Tineke will then explain the benefits Port of Antwerp can offer to your supply chain, and Katrien will bring a very interesting testimonial. We will finally wind up with the Q&A session and some conclusions. So let's get really started. As many of you know, the Port of Antwerp is a truly global port. Last year, the Port of Antwerp handled close to 240 million tons of cargo, out of which 11.5 million TEU worth of containerized cargo. It's by far Belgium's biggest economic driver and accounts for close to 5% of our national GDP. On top of that, it houses over 1,000 private companies, logistic service providers, industrial players, and the likes. Today, international supply chains are confronted with huge challenges, and Brexit is clearly one of them. Higher administrative burden, longer waiting times for clearance procedures, congestion at border crossing points on both sides of the channel, pressure on human and infrastructural capacity, all of these are to be expected, even if the UK and the European Union succeed in establishing a free trade agreement in the next coming weeks. On top of that, we face the challenges of the current unprecedented COVID crisis, the existing strain on mobility and infrastructure in Europe's densely populated areas, and of course, the inevitable but necessary transition towards a more sustainable world. So far, the Port of Antwerp is the only large container gateway in Europe able to register similar container volumes as in the same period of last year. Even after 9 months, we are at par with the volumes of last year. This strong performance under very difficult circumstances is in sharp contrast with other ports in the Hamburg-Le Havre range. But we should not be complacent. With the second wave of COVID-19 in Europe underway and beyond, the outlook is uncertain. However, living in a VUCA world means that we will need to manage this uncertainty. Post-COVID, we will see a world with an increased focus on transformation and innovation. Teleworking, virtual meetings, distant learning, webinars like these, together with increased digitalization, automatization, artificial intelligence, and automatization will dramatically change our present way of working and consequently will change supply chains. Now, before giving the word to Justin, we would like to ask you a small question. What is today your biggest supply chain concern when the transition period ends? You can answer the poll by using the tab on your right-hand side, and possible answers are A, a shortage of skills, drivers, customs, clearance. B, delays and supply chain reliability. C, a drop of demand. 4, lack of warehousing capacity. And 5, the implementation of new procedures. Justin, may I now ask you to join us virtually on stage, please? Can you tell us a bit more about the relationship between the UK and Ireland and the Port of Antwerp?
Yes, good afternoon, Wim, and thank you for that excellent insight into the Port of Antwerp. I'm really sorry that I can't join the team in our fantastic port house there in Antwerp, but I'm very grateful of the opportunity to be able to join virtually. And it's exactly my cup of tea now to be able to talk about the special relationship between the Port of Antwerp and the UK and, of course, Ireland. The UK is actually the Port of Antwerp's second largest maritime trading partner. And I think the graphic on the screen can best demonstrate that. In 2019, we handled more than 15 million tonnes. And as you can see from the very large purple segment in the pie chart, a significant amount of this, almost 9 million tonnes, was liquid bulks. That's perhaps not surprising, given that Antwerp is actually the largest chemical cluster in Europe. Other important aspects of that slide are our container volumes, and Wim has already talked about the importance of the container trade to the Port of Antwerp, just short of 5 million tonnes of containers, but also other volumes as well. The right-hand side of the graphic demonstrates that trade between Antwerp and the UK and between the UK and Belgium actually is flowing from all coastlines with Immingham and Teesport on the east coast, Liverpool and Portbury on the west, and of course Grangemouth up in Scotland, to name but a few. This very simple slide is quite important because what it actually demonstrates is the balance of imports and exports between the Port of Antwerp and the UK. You can see that in almost all cargo sectors, we have almost an equal balance of imports and exports, and that is really important, as most ship owners will know, to actually operating an efficient and sustainable shipping line. I'd at this point like to welcome our audience from the island of Ireland, as I know there are quite a number that have registered for this webinar, and therefore I'd just like to take an opportunity just to talk about our relationship between Antwerp and Ireland. So a much more simple graphic here, but nonetheless less important. Just over 2.2 million tonnes of cargo moved between the Port of Antwerp and Ireland in 2019. It was dominated by our container flows, and as the red part of the graphic shows that, but nonetheless there were other cargo flows, including break bulk, and later in the presentation, Catherine Shears from Fastlines will talk about the wonderful Bel Air service between Antwerp and the port of Drogheda. Other origins and destinations in Ireland are, of course, Dublin, Cork, and Belfast, to name but three. A slightly different balance here, also very close on the container volumes between import and exports, slightly different on the other volumes, particularly on dry bulks. But as I say, Catherine will talk about the very successful break bulk service later in the presentation. So after that introduction to our relationship, I'm really curious as to the outcome of the results of the poll. So I'm going to go back to my colleague, Wim. If you can shed a bit more light on the results, please, Wim.
Well, I'm equally curious as you are. We're waiting for the results. It doesn't come that easy. Well, by far, the drop of demand is the most important concern of this audience. Obviously, it has to do, to my feeling, with the global state of the economy. This is highly impacted by the current COVID crisis. But if you look besides that, the second most important concern is about the lack of warehousing capacity and delays in reliability. So we don't have the exact figures, but we will share them later on with the recordings of this webinar. So thank you, Justin, for a very clear overview. And may I remind, by the way, the audience that it's possible to ask questions by using the question tab. Now let's go over to Tineke. Tineke. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit too fast. Justin, you still have a chapter to do. I'm very sorry. So, what are the challenges and impacts for supply chains? Do you expect them post-Brexit?
Yes, thanks, Wim. Yeah, the presentation is moving really quickly, so I think I got caught out with that too. Yeah, I can see from some of the questions that are coming in as well. Obviously, the drop in demand in trade, but I'm seeing questions about lack of skills or shortage of skills and supply chain disruption, which dovetails very nicely with the areas or the challenges that we believe will exist for UK-EU trade post the end of the transitional period. So whether whether that is challenges around changes in systems and procedures for imports and exports, whether it's around the lack of human resources in certain key areas, the risk of supply chains to retailers, manufacturers or suppliers, or investments that need to be made on infrastructure. So perhaps we can tackle those on the next slide. So I'd like to look at the impact on the UK ports and logistics sector, both in terms of capacity and in terms of cost. Only 12 months ago, Logistics UK were reporting a shortage of over 59,000 truck drivers in the UK alone. They reported that over 64% of transport and warehousing businesses were expecting or experiencing skills shortages. And a similar picture really on customs clearance agents. The UK government themselves identified a need for over 50,000 customs agents. And whilst they've offered various incentives and grant schemes, only in May, the Director General of BIFA was stating that the number of people recruited is still many thousands short of where it needs to be. Similar picture for the UK Border Force, which is also many hundreds of staff short in areas such as border inspection and food and hygiene inspection. There are also challenges around port infrastructure, which ports will need to make to improve borders and to accommodate potential delays to trucks and to queuing. The inevitable impact on this is the cost of wages. Shortage areas and areas of specialism inevitably lead to higher wages. There will be additional charges related to customs clearance, for example, and VAT. And as I touched upon there will need to be capital investment made. Again, the government has launched another incentive to support port businesses in that area, but is it all a little bit too late or after the horse is bolted? So moving on to the next slide. So why are those capacity and cost constraints not the same for the Port of Antwerp? Well, I'd like to explain why. Yes, of course, mainland Europe also has a shortage of truck drivers. But given the Port of Antwerp's superior inland location and our excellent connectivity to barge, rail, short sea and road transportation, we don't expect the shortage of truck drivers to have any severe impact whatsoever on cargo flows through the port. The Belgium customs and federal agencies have been planning for Brexit since the vote in 2016 and already recruited many hundreds of staff already into those positions, and they're in place and trained. On general customs agents, well, of course, the UK is a really important market to the Port of Antwerp, but it is just one market. Port of Antwerp is a global port, as we'll see later in the presentation. So many of the concessions operating on the port already have the people and the infrastructure in place for global customs transactions, and we do not see that as being any significantly different for the UK volumes. In terms of infrastructure, Port of Antwerp has already invested in our customs and federal agency and federal police facilities, and again we'll talk about those later in the presentation. So in terms of impact on cost, we don't expect there to be a significant impact, both in terms of the increased wages or the capital investment required, because we've already made it. Of course, we're not excluded from any increase in tariffs or charges that will take place. So I guess just to round up this part of the presentation, and as a means of an introduction to my colleague Tineke, it's just really of a recap. How can shippers, and I'm aware that there are many shippers and forwarders that have subscribed to this webinar, how can you mitigate your supply chains? Well, it's ultimately about, and Jacques van der Meren touched upon this in his introduction, it's about re-engineering supply chains, thinking differently, rerouting cargo flows. We're already seeing a significant switch from accompanied to unaccompanied transportation. It's about also having the appropriate levels of knowledge in-house and outsourced, simplified trade facilitation procedures, smarter IT systems, and of course being innovative and thinking differently. I think that's a really nice way to end this part of the presentation. I'll now hand you back to Wim, who will introduce my colleague Tineke. Thank you.
So, welcome, Tineke. It's your turn now. Let's go over to you. Just gave us a great insight on the relationship with UK and Ireland, but on top of that, he also explained the risks involved and the challenges ahead. You, as a key account manager, shippers and forwarders of the Port of Antwerp, can you explain us a little bit on what the Port of Antwerp can do to support your supply chains?
Well, Wim, I would be honored to do so. And I would like to do this by answering your question in 5 major advantages where the Port of Antwerp can make a difference for your supply chain. First, I want to guide you through the advantages of making use of unaccompanied transport. The major advantage here is that Port of Antwerp community only offers unaccompanied transport services, which means that in the most cases, only documents need to be checked. Since we are an international port, operators are used to deal with all types of countries all over the world, and so have the appropriate knowledge available. With unaccompanied transportation, also short sea comes in the picture, a good solution in the case of UK and Ireland, and also much encouraged to by the major UK and Ireland ports. This map on this slide clearly shows you the extensive network to various European and non-European destinations. A short sea connection is characterized by frequent connection and by a fixed planning combined with a short transit time. By making use of short sea transport, you relieve the road's congestion problem, knowing that a very large part of Europe is suffering from that very same problem. It can also mean a relief to the shortage of the truck drivers. And also, in terms of the upcoming Green Deal, short sea can mean really a difference for your CO2 reduction. If we now take a closer look to our short sea connections to UK and Ireland, we can say that we can offer fixed connections, as shown on this map, but next to that, we have also spot connections to all the ports in UK and Ireland. This slide especially focuses on the short sea per container, but we also have reliable services in terms of transporting break bulk. And therefore, I would like to give the word to Katrien Scheers. She works with Fast Lines, and it is a well-established company in Antwerp with many experience when it comes to short sea. Welcome, Katrien.
Thank you, Tineke. A leaked Brexit letter warns of 7,000 trucks queuing in Kent as of the 1st January 21. 7,000 trucks. Imagine your cargo being blocked in this queue. The good news, there is a solution. Like Justin mentioned, you have to re-engineer your logistic chains, and we are there to help you. But who are we? I'm Katrien Scheers, owner and proud ambassador of Fast Lines Belgium. Fast is a family-owned total logistics service provider with headquarters in Antwerp. We are specialized in transports to and from UK and Ireland. Whether you want to ship a container or break bulk, Fast has a vast experience in both, as well as in short sea. And we translate short sea into sofa-style service. This means that you, the client, tell us which goods you want to be shipped. Then you sit back, relax, and my team of experts take care of it. 70% of all goods we transport with our Fast fleet are to or from UK and Ireland. On the slide you see Fast Chef, named after my eldest son, and maybe my husband is listening in, so also his son. Fast Chef loading at the liner service from our terminal in Stettin, Poland to UK. The other picture is taken at Zuid-Natie in Port of Antwerp. As Europe's largest breakbulk port, Port of Antwerp is a breakbulk transshipment hub, and Fast Lines transship part of these cargoes to all corners of Europe. But we also ship full shipments of products like broken glass from UK to Antwerp and commodities like sand or pallets or bricks on pallets from Antwerp to UK. A lot of these cargoes are destined for the Humber, which is an ideal port to serve the Midlands. Our Fast Shipping UK office in Immingham is there to help you with all your Brexit-related transport questions. On June 2016, as you all know, the UK voted to leave the EU. A shock went through my organization. As the majority of the goods we ship are to UK and Ireland, our Fast Directors WhatsApp group was busy as a bee. I received mixed reactions, ranging from, "How is this possible? Will it happen? What if it happens? This is a disaster," to "I see opportunities." Immediately, we decided to turn the shock into a plan. We started analyzing our customer flows and concluded that breakbulk short sea shipping is part of the solution to Brexit. Our customer Wienerberger is already convinced that short sea breakbulk services are an alternative to road transport. Since 2014 already, we are shipping full vessels of Wienerberger bricks from Antwerp to UK and sometimes also to St. Petersburg. And as you can see on the slide, we deliver the cargo almost at the customer's doorstep, and that in a sustainable way. After the 1st of January, we will continue serving Wienerberger with breakbulk shipments into UK just as before. No changes? Yes, the only difference will be that we have to fill out one extra document like we already do for our shipments to St. Petersburg. We also aspire to reroute the cargo flows of our customer shipping in and out of Ireland. Take, for example, this customer, Smith. Smith Building Products, located in Newry, has for many years been importing various building materials from continental Europe into UK and Ireland. Fast Group is covering door-to-door transport for all Smith Building Products. And long before Brexit, Fast Lines invested in the silo containers you can see on the picture to ship from Port of Antwerp to Port of Dublin direct. However, the majority of the cargo, bags of floor screed on pallets, were shipped by truck via the UK to Ireland. Due to the uncertainty of Brexit, Fast Group was looking for a solution to cut the UK land bridge and thus avoiding extra custom formalities and long traffic jams. And I'm happy to present we found a solution. As from March 2020, Fast already started with Bell Airlines. Bell Airlines is a conventional breakbulk liner service connecting Port of Antwerp to Port of Drogheda, shipping goods from an EU to an EU port. We aim for all types of breakbulk and general cargoes such as steel products, bag materials, palletized goods, Cargoes currently trucked via the UK land bridge, as I told you, and smaller lots difficult to ship as full and complete cargo, but also project cargo and out-of-gauge cargo are welcome, and of course transshipment cargoes. The cargo is shipped with our own fleet of fast vessels. Due to Corona, we now operate regular monthly sailings, but we can easily step it up if cargo volumes are augmenting. Loading at Port of Antwerp is done by Wijngaardnatie. On the slide you see their state-of-the-art all-weather terminal situated at the Albertok, where they can load 24/7. Even during rainy days, your cargo is covered. Wijngaardnatie accepts all types of break bulk cargoes, whether you come by truck, by train, by barge, or even by ship. At Drogheda Port, Fast Shipping Ireland handles your cargo door-to-door, and they use fast terminals as stevedore. The Port of Drogheda is located between Dublin and Belfast, next to the motorway, the M1. Drogheda Port is perfectly situated to cover on-carriage to the whole Irish Isle. To conclude, first of all, never panic. Fast architects of transport are here to help you with all your questions and to rethink your supply chains. We do more than port-port, we help you door-to-door with our famous sofa-style service. So, sit back, relax, because even after Brexit, Fast Lines and Port of Antwerp keep your goods flowing. Thanks for your attention and enjoy the Bell Airlines video.
Thank you very much, Catherine, for sharing this very interesting information.
My pleasure.
Being the first advantage explained, I can now go to the second advantage, storage and value-added logistics. At Antwerp, we have almost 50 terminals that handle different types of cargo, and this combined with an unmatched storage capacity for all types of cargo. Our port community can help you with the storage of goods also in relation with Brexit. And this not only for containerized cargo, but also for liquid bulk, break bulk, and dry bulk. But our port is not only well equipped with storage capacity. At the same location, or close by the maritime operations, also value-added logistics services are offered and available. Our port community, with its many different company profiles, encourages the innovation and development of new services. Within the port area, there are steel service centers, vehicle service centers, and warehousing activities, like for instance cold stores. And these cold stores can either offer services like, for instance, ripening of bananas. But our service centers can also do justifications to the goods in order to meet the UK's latest demanded standards. Then we can go to our third advantage, the excellent connectivity. Antwerp is closely located to the UK and Ireland. But very important to say is that we are the second largest port in Europe, connecting Europe to the whole world with more than 1,000 direct maritime services. But let me explain you a bit more about Antwerp's unique location. Although we are a seaport, we are not located at the coastline. We actually are a port that has direct access by a river through the River Sea. Due to dredging, we are accessible by the biggest container vessels in the world. And since we are 80 kilometers or 50 miles land inwards, we also are closer located to the highly consuming European mainland, and so reducing hinterland kilometers or miles. But we are also well connected through the hinterland, and this not only by road, but also by barge and rail. We even have a specific department that daily works, of course together with the operators, to even strengthen our position and extend the reliable services and stable services that we have today. We have many options when it comes to rail transportation. Nowadays, there are 213 container shuttles per week. But we do not only transport per rail containers, but also all other types of cargo, like shown on the picture. We have train services to 76 destinations, and this to 17 countries inside and out of Europe. We are an important storage hub and consolidation center, also for further distribution to the UK, Ireland, or the other overseas destinations. Barge transportation is also strongly represented in the Port of Antwerp. We have 950 calls per week, and this equals 3 times the number of sea vessels that we're receiving. And please do know that we are a port that is directly connected to the River Rhine, and that is why we also called a Rhine port. 101 million ton cargo is shipped annually by barge, and to more than 222 frequent containers, and we also have 222 frequent container shuttles per week. This to 90 European destinations, and this to 6 countries. If you would be interested to get to know more about intermodal connections or about our nighttime logistics, I would recommend you to take a look at our connectivity webinar that was recorded on the 8th of September from this year and is still available to watch. Then we go to our fourth advantage, our trade facilitation and simplified procedures. And I would like to emphasize here that we are not going to go into depth concerning customs and procedures in general, but I would like to explain you a bit more about the Port of Antwerp and what Port of Antwerp makes different compared to other ports. And then we can come again and let us talk again about our unique land inwards position, and this in terms of the import process. In a long distance situation, preparations can be done 2 or 3 days before arrival. But this is of course too long ahead when we're talking about trade with UK or Ireland. Yet in this case, but also in all the other cases, a pre-clearance can be done while the vessel is still at the sea. And this is not the same as a pre-lodgement, because 6 hours before the vessel berths, the Port of Antwerp actually can make sure that the Port of Antwerp operators can actually make sure that customs clearance can be done. This means that by the time the vessel berths, the goods can already be customs cleared and customs released. So before the goods arrive at the quay, transportation can be arranged for. This, of course, limiting the risk of paying demurrage and detention. And then, of course, in a few cases, it is possible that your goods will be selected for physical inspection by customs. For containers, we have 2 border inspection posts, one at the right bank and one at the left bank, where the major part of the containers is handled. At the left bank, we even have a one-stop shop, which means that Belgium Customs, the Federal Agency for the Safety of the Food Chain, and the Federal Police combine their inspections at one location. Also at these places and locations, extra manpower is already at place now to cover the extra workload because of Brexit. Now coming back on the storage capacities. Because almost all the operators within the port area can offer bonded warehouse services, we can say that we are one virtual free zone, meaning that different types of cargo can be stored without paying VAT, excises, and import duties, and this for an unlimited amount of time. So actually, this is a good solution if you do not know who you are going to sell your goods to, even if it is within or outside of Europe. Almost unique in Europe is that we can offer fiscal representation. In most countries, when doing import, VAT is immediately due. But with fiscal representation, no VAT pre-financing has to be done. And this either in a cross-border delivery or a domestic delivery. Knowing that the average amount of VAT in Europe is about 70 to 21%, this can make a huge difference in your cash flow. And this facilitation can also be combined with other custom solutions like bonded warehousing. And then our fifth advantage, digitalization. eDesk is an already well-known application for the export flow, with more than 4,000 users all over Europe. It facilitates the exchange of information of export and transit declarations between the exporter and the terminal operator. It is available for containers and ro-ro shipments. And this system can also make connections to your intra-company system, so double administration can be avoided here. For export shipment, it is a much used application in order to follow up on the return of export VAT. Also for the import side, processes can be digitalized. Via the data sharing platform Nextport. For example, you have the Import Consignment API, and it allows you to reuse the cargo information digitally in your software. And as such, avoiding retyping, reduce human errors, use harmonized data formats, and avoid misinterpretations. So thank you, Wing, for letting me explain to you the 5 major advantages for a reliable supply chain when using Port of Antwerp.
Thank you, Tineke. So in conclusion, we can say that the Port of Antwerp, A, is extremely well connected overseas and to the European hinterland. It offers abundant bonded warehouse capacity. It is home to a wide range of reliable logistics service providers that create value in your port. It prouds itself with very efficient handling terminals for all modes of transport. And last but not least, it increases efficiency by simplified procedures and digitalization. On this last point, I would like to mention the following. The Port of Antwerp is really ready for the future. As a full member of IPSCA, the International Port Community System Association, I would like to bring to your attention that IPSCA launched on the 1st of July a network of trusted networks, which is based on our Nextport technology and connects community systems across the globe. It promotes e-logistics as a key success factor for the maritime industry of tomorrow. After 3 months, Well over 17 global ports have already joined this network, and 13 of them are British ports. So we see this as a true commitment for continued collaboration on both sides of the channel. Tineke, Justin, may I now ask you to join me for the Q&A session?
Thank you, Wim.
Okay, first question is a question for Justin. On the whole, are UK ports prepared for the Brexit or not?
Well, that's quite a question, Wim. I think it's fair to say that in the UK, ports and terminals have considered a range of potential outcomes. But the issue is that the uncertainty has made it very difficult for them to make investment decisions. So, for example, the UK government only recently in June consulted on their IT system, the Goods Vehicle Movement Service. This consultation, as I say, only published in June, contains several blank pages on import processes and how government plans to enforce new pre-clearance processes. And therein lies the problem. Ports know that infrastructure needs to be built, but the lack of basic detail to allow them to start planning is still very much of an issue.
Thank you, Justin. The second question seems to be one for you, Tineke. Who can I contact if I want to make a switch to unaccompanied transport?
Well, actually, that's a very good question, and I would like to invite the audience to contact us, because we do know our port platform and we can put you in contact with the right people. Also, we have good relations with customs and, for instance, the Federal Food Agency. So please contact us and we can guide you further.
Thank you, Tineke. Question number 3. This one's for Justin again. Justin, why did the media talk so much over the past couple of months or years about the long queues at the ports of south of England?
Well, I think it's fair to say, I mean, over 4 million trucks a year come through facilities in Kent, and a study undertaken by Imperial College London on the impact of delays found that for every minute of delay could create up to 10 miles of traffic during peak times. The UK government's response to that has been to publish a list of intended and potential sites from where the construction of truck parks intended to remove this congestion can be made. But this is not really a suitable outcome for what is already an overstretched and undermanned road haulage sector.
Okay, and with over 150,000 trucks going over that land bridge every year, I'm sure that some of them will be persuaded to use the more efficient short sea connection with Antwerp. Yep. Okay, that seems to be the last of our questions today. Is there one another? I don't think there is another showing.
Yeah, Wim, there is actually, just looking at the questions coming in, there is a question about the effectiveness of the land bridge between the UK and Ireland.
Oh, yes, okay.
Would you like me to take that one?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, well, as you just said there, I mean, around 40% of Irish trade is moving currently through the land bridge, which, to be fair, has been the quickest and smoothest route to the European market for more than 30 years. But inevitably, additional checks and delays will cause major upheaval on that route. And that's why shippers are looking at alternative routes. And I don't think I can say anything more than the fantastic presentation that Katrian gave earlier about Bel Air service, which actually shows how innovative thinking companies are circumventing the land bridge and coming up with reliable, sustainable supply chain solutions.
Thank you, Justin. And there's another one coming in, a fifth question, also for you, Justin. What is the status of the special free trade ports UK authorities are talking about?
Okay, so this was an announcement back in 2019, effectively a competition to create 10 free port zones in the UK, ultimately with the aim of maximising economic benefit and recharging coastal communities. I think that consultation is still ongoing. But I think Tineke was able to give a comparison from the slide that she gave on the Port of Antwerp, which is effectively a virtual free zone, where with tax advantages and advantages on planning and development, we can actually compete very efficiently with other European ports. And I think that is what the consultation is. The UK is about. It's a stimulus to growth through the development of these regions in the ports. But I believe that consultation is still ongoing.
Thank you, Justin. That brings us to the end of this webinar. I would like to thank Katrien, Tineke, and Justin for their excellent contribution, but also you, our audience, for being with us today. We hope that we've been able to support you with your future challenges and opportunities, and if you need further information, don't hesitate to call us. For your information, you may also be interested to join us again at our upcoming Intermodal Marketplace event, another virtual event, which will take place on November 26th. And do stay with us for a few moments longer to watch our short movie. After all, we want you to be part of Antwerp's exciting story. Thank you very much.